The night was calm on Earth when the signal arrived, but inside the Deep Space Listening Center, everything changed in a single moment. For years, scientists had listened to the cold silence of the universe, hoping one day something new would reach them. Most believed nothing ever would. Space was too big, too empty, too quiet. But on that night, a faint cry broke through the static, so weak that the machines almost ignored it. A young technician named Mara noticed a strange flicker on her screen. At first she thought it was just another malfunction, but when she listened closely, she felt a shiver run down her spine. It was not noise. It was not a glitch. It was a call for help. She called her supervisor, and soon the entire room filled with experts and analysts. They replayed the signal again and again, slowing it down, cleaning the distortions, trying to pull meaning from the broken fragments. The more they worked, the more frightened they became. The voice, if it could be called a voice, did not sound human. It was layered, echoing like many tones, speaking at once. There were no words anyone could recognize, yet there was something urgent, almost desperate, hidden in it. You did not need to understand the language to feel the fear inside the message. Hours passed, and the world changed. The message was sent to the Global Space Council, and a secret emergency meeting was called before sunrise. Leaders of every nation, top scientists, and military officers were contacted. The message repeated on a loop as they gathered, a trembling, broken sound from a distant corner of the universe, carrying the same emotion every time. Panic when they confirmed that the signal came from far beyond the Milky Way, somewhere near the outer edges of the Andromeda Galaxy. Disbelief filled the room. It meant something intelligent lived out there, something that understood communication, something advanced enough to reach across millions of light years. But something was very wrong with them. Something terrible was happening. During the first hours of research, the scientists found a pattern hidden inside the message. At first it looked like strange symbols, but after running hundreds of decoding models, they realized the truth. It was a map showing the location of the sender. And when they compared it to star charts, they noticed something chilling. Whatever civilization sent the message lived in a region where several stars had recently disappeared, not dimmed, not collapsed, completely vanished, as if swallowed whole. The room fell silent when this information was presented. Only the hum of the projectors and the soft crackling of the repeating distress call filled the space. The council members looked at each other, sensing that this was no ordinary event. If an entire star system could vanish, then something unimaginably powerful was moving through the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, every nation felt the same fear. Throughout the day, experts around the world studied the signal. Linguists attempted to break down its structure, physicists examined the energy imprint it carried, and military strategists reviewed possible threats. One thing became clear: the sender was not lying. They were not exaggerating. Something was destroying their worlds. Something was hunting them. The question was simple but terrifying. Would it come for Earth next? News of the signal leaked to the public within hours. Social media exploded. News channels switched to non-stop coverage, and millions stayed awake through the night waiting for more information. Some were excited, imagining peaceful aliens reaching out for friendship. Others panicked, thinking of invasion, war, or extinction. In cities around the world, people gathered in parks, on rooftops, and by the ocean, staring at the night sky with a strange mix of fear and wonder. Meanwhile, back at the listening center, Mara sat quietly in front of her screen. She kept replaying the message, even though by now she knew it by heart. Something inside it felt haunting and sad, like a final scream before darkness swallowed everything. She wondered what the aliens looked like, what their homes were like, what kind of hope or terror they felt when they sent their last signal into the void. Did they know if anyone would hear them? Did they imagine that a tiny blue planet far away would be the one to receive their cry? An urgent meeting took place in the Orbital Defense Citadel, a structure floating high above Earth. It was built as a symbol of unity, meant for future space projects, not war. But today, the mood inside it was heavy and tense. Leaders sat around a circular table while holographic screens displayed the decoded message and the map. Some argued that humanity should ignore the signal. The threat might be too big. Earth was not ready for a galactic war. Why risk everything for strangers? Others argued that ignoring the call would be a mistake. If something powerful enough to erase stars existed, Earth would not stay safe forever. Helping the unknown civilization could mean gaining an ally, sharing technology, and learning about the enemy before it reached them. Humanity had spent centuries fighting among themselves, but now they faced something much bigger than any conflict on their planet. For the first time, they had to think like a species, not separate nations. The debate lasted for hours. Satellite feeds showed the sun rising over Earth, lighting up oceans, mountains, and millions of people unaware that their future was being decided in that moment. The leaders argued about responsibility, danger, hope, and survival. But in the end, one truth became impossible to ignore. Someone out there was dying. Someone was begging for help, and humanity had heard them at the listening center. Mara received new data from the decoding team. They believed they had understood one simple phrase repeated throughout the signal. After removing distortion and comparing tonal patterns, They were confident the phrase meant something close to "they are coming." She wrote it down and felt another cold shiver run through her. This was not just a report of destruction that had already happened. It was a warning about what was still on its way. By evening, every major space fleet commander, scientist, and strategic advisor had been summoned to the Citadel. The leaders shared all the new findings with them. They showed images of the disappearing stars, simulations of galactic movement, and projections of the enemy's path. The experts listened silently, their expressions turning grim. Many had prepared their whole lives for war, but not for something like this. This enemy was not another nation. It was something that consumed light, matter, and life itself. After long hours of discussion, humanity finally made its choice. They would answer the cry for help, not with diplomacy alone, not with small teams or peaceful research missions. They would send their strongest weapons, their most advanced warships, and their bravest soldiers. They would show the galaxy that Earth would not hide in fear while others suffered. They would fight beside the unknown civilization, not because they were obligated to, but because they understood what it meant to be desperate, to face extinction, and to cling to hope even when the darkness seemed unstoppable. Throughout the world, military bases lit up with activity. Shipyards received urgent orders. Scientists began unlocking classified technology that had never been used before. Engineers worked through the night designing upgrades for ships that were already powerful. Pilots received messages recalling them to duty. Everyone felt the same quiet tension in their hearts. Something ancient and deadly was moving across the universe. Something that could erase entire civilizations as easily as blowing out a candle. And humanity, fragile but stubborn, chose to stand against it. As the sun set again, Mara stepped outside the listening center and looked up at the stars. They looked peaceful, calm, and beautiful. But now she knew better. Somewhere far beyond what the human eye could see, someone was running, screaming, or hiding. Somewhere, whole worlds were falling into silence. She whispered to the sky, not sure why she did it. "We heard you." And for the first time in human history, Earth prepared not just to explore the galaxy, but to defend it. The moment the signal arrived, humanity's destiny changed. They were no longer alone. They were no longer small. They were now part of something bigger, something dangerous, terrifying, and extraordinary. The galaxy had cried for help, and humanity had answered. The world had barely begun to understand the meaning of the alien distress signal when another emergency meeting was called, this time inside the vast halls of the Orbital Defense Citadel. Floating high above Earth, the Citadel had always been a symbol of scientific cooperation, a place where humanity planned peaceful missions into space. But today, the atmosphere inside it was heavy, almost suffocating. Everyone walking through its bright metallic corridors felt the same uneasy pressure in their chest. Something enormous was happening, something that would change everything humans knew about their place in the universe. Inside the central chamber, a giant circular room with transparent walls showing the curve of Earth below, representatives from every major nation had gathered. Space Force commanders in dark uniforms, scientists in white coats, political leaders in formal suits, and communication experts carrying data pads. All of them took their seats around a single huge holographic table. At the center hovered the decoded message, waves of glowing symbols, a faint outline of a star map, and the broken audio of the alien plea. Everyone stared at it in silence. The voice still sounded desperate, almost trembling, as if the sender had recorded it while running from something. Even after hearing it so many times, it still created a strange feeling in the chest, as if the heart recognized fear, even if the brain didn't understand the language. The hologram of disappearing stars played beside it, small lights blinking out one by one like candles being snuffed out by unseen fingers. For several minutes, no one spoke. Finally, the chairwoman of the Global Space Council, a woman named Elena Veros, stood up and looked around the room with tired eyes. She knew the weight of every word spoken today would shape the future of the entire planet. "We are here," she began, her voice steady but heavy, "because what we decide today will affect the fate of our world, and possibly the fate of countless others." Her words echoed through the chamber. Some looked nervous. Others pretended to look brave. One of the military commanders, General Rafe Duncer, leaned forward. He was a tall man with a sharp jaw and a voice that always sounded like he was giving orders, even when he wasn't. "We all saw the data. Those stars didn't vanish naturally. Something consumed them, something powerful. If we ignore this message, we risk being the next target." Another leader, Minister Han of the Pacific Alliance, shook her head. "Or we risk sending our people into a war we cannot win. We don't know who sent the message. We don't know their intentions. For all we know, we might be walking into a trap." A murmur spread through the room. The possibility of danger was everywhere, no matter what choice they made. At the far end of the table, Dr. Salim Ibarra, one of the world's top astrophysicists, adjusted his glasses. The energy signatures detected near the vanished stars matched no natural phenomenon. Whatever did this is moving, and based on its direction. He tapped a button, and the holographic map shifted. A glowing line showed a predicted path. It was heading toward the sector where the aliens lived, and beyond that toward the Milky Way. A chill ran through the room. Even those who tried to appear calm couldn't hide the tension rising inside them. General Duncer crossed his arms. If we wait until this threat reaches Earth, it will be too late. We must respond. We must prepare. Another representative, Director Amir Hussein of the Eastern Federation, frowned. Prepare what? Humanity has never fought anything beyond our own planet. We do not have the experience, the weapons, or the strategy for a galactic enemy. We barely understand what we're facing. A young scientist, Dr. Lian Zhou, spoke softly but clearly. That civilization sent a message because they had no one else left to call. Imagine their fear. Imagine their situation. If it were Earth in their place, wouldn't we hope someone in the galaxy heard us? That question hit deeply. Many in the room lowered their eyes, imagining Earth cities collapsing, oceans boiling, families running, screaming, searching for safety while a consuming force darkened the sky. The thought was horrifying. Minister Han sighed heavily. This is not only an emotional decision. We must think logically. If we send help, we risk our limited resources. If this enemy destroys us, Earth becomes silent forever. Elena Varos nodded slowly. And if we do nothing, the enemy grows stronger with every star system it devours. We risk facing an unstoppable force someday. Debate continued for hours. Voices rose. Arguments clashed. Some leaders slammed their hands against the table. Others stood pacing, frustration boiling inside them. Many saw only danger. Some saw an opportunity to form the first true intergalactic alliance. Others feared that humanity was too young, too fragile, too divided to step into a cosmic battlefield. At one point, Commander Aisha Grant, head of the Lunar Defense Fleet, spoke up. Her voice was calm but firm. Humanity has always chosen survival, and survival has always required courage. This enemy is not a local threat. It is universal. If we turn our backs now, we turn our backs on our own future. Her words struck a chord. Outside the transparent walls of the chamber, Earth rotated slowly. Blue oceans, golden deserts, clouds drifting peacefully. It looked so safe, so innocent, compared to the danger waiting in the dark reaches of space. Seeing their home from above made the leaders feel the weight of their responsibility even more. One wrong decision, and everything below could be lost forever. As night fell across half the planet, the discussion grew even more intense. Reports arrived from intelligence agencies warning against the risk. Reports from scientists insisted the threat was real. Reports from global citizens begged leaders to protect Earth. But something unexpected happened as the hours passed. The more the leaders argued, the more they began to understand each other. Nations that once competed now listened. Old rivalries faded. Fear became a shared burden. Humanity, for the first time in history, felt like one species facing one challenge. Finally, Elena Varos raised a hand, signaling everyone to fall silent. We cannot hide behind fear, she said softly. If we do nothing, we gain nothing. But if we choose courage, if we answer the cry for help, we may save not only them, but ourselves. General Duncer nodded. We have the technology. We have the ships. We have the people. We can send a fleet. Director Hussein inhaled slowly, then exhaled. Perhaps this is our moment, not to conquer, but to protect. Minister Han leaned back, her expression softening. If we do this, every nation must cooperate fully. No secrets, no selfishness. Alina nodded, agreed. One by one, every leader in the room cast their vote, and one by one they chose the same answer. Humanity would answer the call, not with fear, not with hesitation, with strength. Across the citadel, lights flickered as new orders were transmitted to every space agency, every military fleet, every scientific department. A massive global operation began instantly. Engineers were called back from vacations. Soldiers were awakened past midnight. Shipyards on the moon lit up like stars as construction crews rushed to activate dormant battleships. Secret hangars deep under Earth opened their doors for the first time in decades. Humanity had decided Earth would send its deadliest fleet. Still, planning such a response was not easy. The leaders stayed awake long into the night, discussing logistics and strategy. The fleet would need advanced weapons, long-range travel systems, defensive shields, medical support, and communication technology capable of reaching another galaxy. It was a monumental task, but they were determined. In a small observation room overlooking the central chamber, Marotha, technician who first discovered the signal, watched the activity with wide eyes. She felt a strange mix of pride and fear. Never in her life had she imagined that one small flicker on her screen would lead to a decision that affected the fate of the entire galaxy. As she looked down at Earth slowly spinning beneath the citadel, she whispered to herself, "We're really doing this." Back in the meeting chamber, planning became more intense. Commanders discussed battle strategies. Scientists debated propulsion system upgrades. Engineers described the challenges of preparing warships for long-distance travel. Political leaders agreed to share resources equally. Every detail mattered, because the enemy they were preparing for was unlike anything humans had ever faced. Despite the fear hanging over everyone, an unusual energy filled the room, an energy born from unity, People who had never agreed before were suddenly working like they were part of the same mind. Humanity's old divisions, political, cultural, territorial, faded in the face of a greater threat, and for the first time in human history, the entire planet moved with a single purpose. By dawn, after endless discussions, arguments, and planning, the decision was officially announced. Earth would assemble the largest, strongest, most advanced space fleet ever built, the Deadliest fleet, a fleet powerful enough to face whatever nightmare was destroying star systems across the universe. Humanity would not wait for the darkness to reach them. They would go to it first. Back on Earth, people woke up to news broadcasts showing the alien message, the map, and the leaders standing together. Shock turned to fear, but fear slowly turned to resolve. Something about seeing nations united gave people hope. Something about knowing they were not alone in the universe made them feel less small, less helpless. Children asked if aliens would be saved. Parents hugged their families tighter. Millions watched the rising sun with a silent prayer. Inside the Citadel, the leaders ended the meeting with one last look at the holographic stars. They knew the road ahead would be dangerous. They knew losses were inevitable. They knew the enemy was unlike anything they could imagine. But they also knew something else, something stronger. Humanity had already made its choice. The galaxy had cried for help, and Earth had answered. The decision had been made, but deciding was the easy part. Now came the real work, the kind of work that shook entire cities awake and lit up the skies above Earth's space. The orders spread across the planet like lightning. Commanders shouted into radios. Scientists ran through labs. Engineers put on their gear and raced toward factories that had been silent for years. Humanity had only one goal now: build the deadliest space fleet the galaxy had ever seen across Earth. The moon and the colonies floating in orbit. Every shipyard began buzzing with life. Huge mechanical arms moved like giant spiders over half-finished spacecraft, welding metal plates that glowed like molten suns. Gears turned, engines roared, lights flickered, alarms beeped, and workers rushed from one platform to another. There was no time to waste, not when an enemy capable of destroying stars was heading this way. Inside the orbital construction hub, Captain Serena Holt watched the chaos with a mixture of pride and fear. As one of the youngest commanders chosen to lead a division of the fleet, she felt a heavy responsibility on her shoulders. From the observation deck, she saw thousands of workers assembling one of the largest ships in human history, a Leviathan-class destroyer. Its dark metallic body stretched across an entire platform, nearly the size of a small city. Even unfinished, it looked like something from a dream or a nightmare. Serena whispered to herself, "If anything can face that enemy, it's this." But the Leviathans weren't the only ships being built. Hundreds of quantum strike frigates hovered nearby, long and sharp like deadly arrows. Their engines could warp space itself, allowing them to leap across vast distances in seconds. Dreadstar carriers stood tall like floating towers, built to launch fleets of fighter crafts into battle. Even small but powerful escort ships, known as Blink, were being upgraded with experimental technology. Every nation had contributed its best designs, and for the first time, all technologies were being combined. It didn't matter who invented what or which country owned which patent. Humanity was no longer a group of separate nations. They were one species, preparing for something far beyond their understanding. Inside a massive hangar on the Pacific coast, Dr. Ezra Kamal stood in front of a smooth black device shaped like a giant crystal. This was the heart engine, a newly developed power core capable of generating energy levels once thought impossible. When activated, it glowed with a soft blue light, humming like a living creature. Ezra had spent half his life designing it, and now he felt both excitement and terror, knowing it would power humanity's most dangerous ships. A young assistant called the Fleet Command needs confirmation. Are the heart engines stable for long-distance travel? Ezra hesitated. So many tests had been done, yet deep space held unknown risks. But there was no time left for doubt. "They're stable," he said quietly, "and activate the installation sequence." As his team rushed to begin the process, Ezra placed a hand on the glowing surface of the engine. He thought about the aliens who had cried for help. He wondered what their world looked like before it collapsed. He wondered if they were still alive, or if he was building a weapon that would arrive too late. On the lunar research base, another group of scientists worked on improving defensive shields. Thick blue barriers flickered into existence around practice drones as lasers and plasma shots hit them repeatedly. Each time the shield held steady, the researchers cheered. Every time it flickered too weakly, they groaned and adjusted their calculations. They were racing the clock, trying to create a shield strong enough to survive a creature or machine, powerful enough to swallow entire star systems. Across the moon's gray surface, thousands of workers in spacesuits carried large glowing components to assembly bays. From a distance, it looked like fireflies moving across the night. They worked non-stop, guided only by the faint light of Earth hanging above them like a giant blue lantern. Back on Earth, training centers overflowed with soldiers, pilots, engineers, doctors, and communication officers. People from every corner of the world had volunteered. Some had never left their own country. Now they were preparing to leave the entire galaxy. In one training academy, a young pilot named Cade Ramirez sat inside a simulator cockpit, gripping the controls tightly. The screen around him shifted into a swirling nebula. Shadowy enemies appearing from every angle. Enemy approaching at high speed. The instructor shouted. Cade pushed the controls forward, feeling the simulated thrust in his chest. The ship jolted as lasers flew past. He spun the craft, dodging attacks with sharp movements, sweat dripping down his forehead. When he finally blasted the enemy target into pieces, he let out a relieved breath. He knew this was just a simulation. The real battles would be far worse after the session. The instructor approached him. "You've got talent," he said. "But remember, up there, you won't just be fighting to survive. You'll be fighting to save every living soul in our galaxy." Cade nodded, feeling a shiver crawl up his spine. Across the world, messages from families filled screens. Mothers hugged their children. Fathers shook their sons' hands. Partners held each other tightly, knowing the mission could take years or forever. Some people were proud, others were terrified. But deep down, everyone understood the truth. This fleet wasn't just going to help the aliens, it was going to defend Earth's future. At the Atlantic shipyard, a group of engineers stood around a huge blueprint spread across a table. The blueprint showed a weapon unlike anything humanity had ever built, a massive cannon capable of firing condensed energy strong enough to crack asteroid fields into dust. It had taken years to design, but now it was being rushed into production. "We call it the Sunpiercer," the lead engineer said. "If anything can break through whatever's eating those stars, it's this monster." One of the team members looked nervous. "And if it doesn't work," the engineer sighed, "then we build something stronger." Day and night blurred together as the entire planet worked relentlessly. Even children drew pictures of spaceships in their school notebooks. Artists painted murals of brave soldiers flying through galaxies. Scientists appeared on news screens to explain how the fleet would travel. The world was no longer thinking about countries, borders, or politics. Everyone was thinking about survival, hope, and the unknown darkness waiting in the distant void. In the Citadel, Elena Veros walked slowly through the command bridge, watching holographic displays of the fleet's progress. Some ships were nearly complete, others were still little more than skeletons, but the speed of construction amazed even her. Humans had always been stubborn, always fought against impossible odds, but seeing the entire species unite like this was something she had never imagined. General Rafe Dunser joined her at the railing, watching workers below. "They're scared," he said softly. "But fear is a powerful tool. It makes people do incredible things." Elena nodded. "They're not building ships. They're building a promise that we won't let the galaxy die alone." As days passed, the first completed ships lifted from their docks. Engines flashed with bright light as they rose into the sky like giant, shining arrows. Crowds gathered in cities to watch the launches, cheering as the ships disappeared through the clouds. Children waved flags. Old men wiped tears from their eyes. Soldiers saluted. Everyone knew they were witnessing history. Inside one of the ships, Serena Holt walked through the corridors, inspecting every section. She passed rooms full of weapons, medical bays stocked with supplies, sleeping quarters for hundreds of crew members, and advanced navigation centers. Each part of the ship glowed with new technology. She paused at the front of the bridge and gazed out the window at the stars. The engines hummed softly beneath her feet. "This is it," she said quietly. "We're ready." But even as the fleet grew stronger, a quiet question lingered in everyone's mind. Were they strong enough? Were they fast enough? Were they already too late? No one had the answer. All they could do was keep building, keep preparing, keep pushing forward with the stubborn hope that humanity had always carried like a flame in the darkness. Soon, the ships that had once been ideas on papers were now floating giants, ready to leave the solar system. Each one had a crew, weapons, shields, engines, and a mission. They were designed not for exploration or peace, but for war, one unlike anything humans had ever imagined. As the final days of preparation came, Elena Varos stood before a window, watching the assembled fleet shine in the cold darkness of space. Thousands of ships, each humming with power, each representing a different part of humanity, cultures, nations, histories, dreams. For the first time, they stood together as one. Behind her, General Dunzer spoke quietly. "Humanity has built weapons before," he said, "but never with hearts so heavy." Elena nodded. "Or with purpose so great." And as the fleet prepared to launch toward an unknown enemy and a dying civilization in Andromeda, one truth echoed across every command center, every shipyard, every home on Earth: the deadliest fleet in human history was ready, ready to travel farther than humans had ever gone, ready to face a nightmare unimaginable, ready to answer the galaxy's cry for help, and ready to fight for it, a future that belonged not just to Earth but to every star still shining in the universe. Asterisk. The fleet's engines lit up space like thousands of blue suns as humanity began its long journey toward the Andromeda frontier. People on Earth watched the tiny glowing streaks disappear into the distance, whispering prayers, hopes, and fears. Inside the massive ships, soldiers and scientists sat in silence, strapped into their seats as the engines pushed them faster than anything humans had ever experienced. The darkness of space stretched endlessly ahead of them, full of mysteries, dangers, and the unknown. Days turned into weeks as the fleet crossed the void between galaxies. Even though the ships were enormous, life inside them soon felt small and quiet. Some soldiers practiced in training rooms, punching invisible enemies with grim determination. Some engineers walked through the metal holes, listening to the thrum of the engines to check for any strange vibrations. Scientists watched star charts glowing on screens, calculating the fleet's path again and again. Everyone was busy, but underneath their work, a heavy feeling followed them like a shadow. They were traveling toward a place where stars had died, toward a civilization that might already be gone. Serena Holt, now the commander of her Leviathan-class destroyer, often stood at the front of the bridge, watching nebula clouds swirl outside the thick windows. She had imagined space travel as beautiful and peaceful, but now every patch of darkness between the stars felt threatening. She wondered what waited ahead. She wondered if they were too late. She wondered if the aliens who sent the distress call were still alive, or if their call had been nothing more than a ghostly echo from the dead. Sometimes she thought about stopping the ship completely, turning around and pretending none of this existed. But whenever those thoughts came, she remembered the trembling sound inside the alien message, a sound full of fear and pain. That sound refused to leave her mind. One day, as the fleet entered a region filled with glowing dust clouds, a strange silence spread across every communication channel. The screens flickered, engines hummed less smoothly, the temperature inside the ships dropped a few degrees. For a moment, the crews wondered if something had gone wrong with the systems. Then the sensors detected something ahead, a planet. It was supposed to be part of the alien civilization's territory. Everyone rushed to their stations. Scientists pressed their faces close to screens. Pilots prepared emergency maneuvers. Serena gripped the command rail tightly. This was the first real moment of truth. As the fleet approached the planet, a terrible sight slowly became clear. The planet was broken, cracked like a shattered glass orb, floating in space as huge chunks drifted away from the surface. Fires burned across the fractured crust, glowing red like the last breaths of something dying. The oceans had boiled and disappeared. Cities, millions of them, had been reduced to ash, their metallic remains floating like dust. For a long time, no one spoke. It felt like staring at a grave the size of a world. General Dunser's voice finally echoed across the fleet's shared communication channel. It was quiet, heavy, full of dread. All ships, proceed carefully. This was their home. The fleet began scanning the debris. Some soldiers cried silently as they looked at the ruins. Some clenched their fists, anger tightening their faces. Others simply stared in stunned silence, unable to believe such destruction was possible. Serena whispered, "What kind of monster does this?" Inside the science vessel Aurora 7, Dr. Leanne Jo sat frozen in her seat as she examined the readings. The scanners showed radiation unlike anything known. Matter had been stripped away, layer by layer, as if eaten. She turned to her team, her voice shaking. This wasn't a bomb. This wasn't war between aliens. Something consumed this planet. The word consumed echoed through the ship like a curse. Just as fear began to swallow the fleet, a faint signal appeared. A weak pulse, barely detectable. Everyone froze. Scientists scrambled to lock onto it. Pilots held their breath. Commanders leaned closer to their displays. It was coming from the broken planet, but it wasn't automated. It was alive. Serena immediately ordered landing teams to prepare. The planet's gravitational field was unstable, its atmosphere thin and toxic. But they had to try. If someone had survived, they were the only living witnesses to what happened here. A small team of soldiers, doctors, and scientists boarded a shuttle and descended toward the fractured surface. The sky below was filled with smoke, dust, and drifting metal. The ground was cracked in huge spirals, glowing with heat in the deep fissures. The shuttle landed on a flat piece of debris near what used to be a city. The team stepped out, their boots sinking slightly into ash. The air smelled like burnt metal. Dr. Leanne covered her mouthpiece, trying not to cry. Nothing looked alive here. Buildings lay collapsed like broken toys. The streets were full of silent skeletons of machines. Every corner of the planet felt haunted. Suddenly, their scanners picked up movement. Serena raised her weapon, the soldiers forming a protective ring. The movement was small, weak, almost like a flicker. The team followed the signal deeper into the ruins. Then they saw it, a creature fragile, glowing faintly with soft blue light, lay half buried under rubble. Its skin shimmered like crystal, and gentle patterns pulsed across its body with each slow breath. It looked like a being made of light and glass, delicate and beautiful, even in its suffering. This was a Lumerian, a member of the alien race that had called for help. Serena dropped to her knees and removed a helmet so the creature could see her face. "We're here," she whispered. "You asked for help. We came." The Lumerian's eyes glowed softly as it looked at her. Its voice sounded like music, broken and trembling. "We believed no one remained in the stars." Dr. Leanne knelt beside it, gently examining its injuries. Its body was weakening fast. Large cracks ran along its crystal-like skin. Every breath looked painful. Serena felt something tighten painfully inside her chest. "What happened here?" she asked softly. The Lemurian lifted a trembling arm and pointed toward the sky. Its voice was barely audible. "The phage. They devour all light, all life." The team felt a cold wave of dread. The enemy finally had a name. Dr. Lian's eyes widened. "Phage, are they machines? Creatures? What are they?" The Lemurian struggled to speak. "Hungry shadows, born from the void, metal, and madness. They do not stop. They cannot stop." Its body shivered violently. Small pieces of crystal-like skin fell away like shattered glass. Serena leaned close. "Are there more survivors? Others like you?" The Lemurian's glowing eyes dimmed. "Few. Very few hiding, running." Sent the call, hoping someone would listen. Serena grabbed the creature's hand gently. "We listened. We came. We will help you." The Lemurian smiled weakly, a soft glow flickering across its face. "You humans carry fierce light in your hearts, perhaps enough to fight the darkness." Then the glow faded. Its breathing stopped. Its hand fell still. The team bowed their heads as a deep silence filled the ruined city. They had arrived just in time to witness the last voice of a dying world and the last hope of understanding the enemy. They carried the Lemurian's body back to the shuttle. The entire fleet watched the landing party return in silence. No one spoke. No one cheered. The weight of the moment crushed their hearts. Serena stood on the command bridge, staring at the stars outside. She felt tears rise, but she held them back. Soldiers didn't cry, not in front of their crew, but inside her heart ached. Earth had come hoping to save a civilization, but they had arrived at the end of it suddenly. Alarms blared across the fleet. Sensor readings spiked. Energy signatures surged. Shadow-like objects appeared on the outer edge of the radar. Millions of tiny shapes, moving fast. "Commander," a pilot shouted, voice shaking. "Something is coming from the far side of the system." Serena looked at the screens, her stomach dropping. The phage, the devourers of stars, the reason the Lemurians called for help. The enemy had found them. For a moment, a deep silence filled the bridge. No one breathed out. Then Serena lifted her chin, her eyes hardening. "We stood by the dead," she whispered. "Now we stand for the living." She turned to her crew. "Prepare the fleet. The phage is here." The deadliest fleet in human history had finally reached the battlefield, and the real war was about to begin. The moment the phage appeared on the screens, everything inside the human fleet shifted. The calm silence of space was replaced by a tense buzzing energy, the kind that crawls under your skin and makes your heart pound before you even understand why. Every soldier felt it. Every pilot felt it. Even the scientists, who normally stayed calm behind their screens, felt a cold shiver travel down their backs. The phage did not arrive like a normal enemy. There were no giant ships, no glowing engines, no communication signals. Instead, they appeared like a huge, spreading swarm, millions upon millions of dark shapes, drifting through space as if the void itself had broken into pieces and started moving. They didn't reflect light. They didn't shine. They were like shadows made solid, flowing forward as one unstoppable mass. Serena stood on the bridge, staring at the screens. Her mouth felt dry, and her heart hammered against her ribs. "Is that all of them?" she asked quietly. Her sensor officer swallowed hard. "No, Commander. This is just the first wave." Those words felt like being punched in the chest. The phage moved like a living tide, silent and cold. People across the fleet whispered prayers, cursed under their breath, or simply gripped their weapons until their knuckles turned white. For the first time since leaving Earth, many wondered if humanity had made a terrible mistake coming here. But they were here now. There was no turning back. General Duncer's voice echoed through every ship. It was calm, but underneath it, fear trembled like a hidden note. "All units prepare for engagement. Remember your training. Watch your formations. This enemy does not communicate. It does not negotiate. It consumes." Inside each warship, red emergency lights flashed. Armored doors sealed. Soldiers strapped themselves into their battle stations. Pilots ran their fingers over controls one last time. Engineers checked energy levels, power cores, reactor heat, and every weapon system. Serena felt her throat tighten as she watched her crew move with desperate precision. She wanted to say something comforting, something brave, but what comfort could anyone offer in the face of an enemy that had devoured an entire civilization? Still, she forced her voice steady. "Focus on your roles. Stay sharp. We protect each other." Outside the windows, the broken planet drifted silently behind the fleet. Its glowing cracks and rising ash looked almost peaceful now, like a wounded lantern in the darkness. But Serena knew what had been done to it. She knew what was coming for them next. The phage accelerated. The swarm spread out like wings of darkness, growing bigger and bigger on the screens. Their strange, jagged forms twisted and shifted with unnatural motion. They did not fly, they drifted, floated, slid forward as if pulled by some invisible force. But they were fast, much faster than anything that size should be. The first wave struck. It happened so quickly that no one had time to react. Shadows smashed into the outer defense ships, and alarms erupted instantly. The impact wasn't like a missile or laser blast. There was no explosion. Instead, The hulls of the human ships cracked, blackened, and began to melt as if the shadows were dissolving the metal itself. Serena stared in horror. What are they made of? Dr. Lian's voice came through the science channel, shaking. They're not metal, not organic, not energy. They're something else. Something that absorbs matter at a molecular level. They're like living corrosion. Chips on the outer ring exploded or disintegrated one by one. Thousands of soldiers died in seconds. The phage drifted through the debris, absorbing everything they touched. Serena clenched her teeth. Target the swarm. Fire all forward weapons. Her ship unleashed a storm of energy beams, missiles, and plasma bursts. Other ships did the same. The darkness outside lit up with explosions and glowing trails. The weapons struck the phage and passed straight through them. It was like shooting through smoke. Serena's jaw dropped. No effect. Then something unexpected happened. Some of the phage creatures reacted to the light. They curled away from the brightest beams, twisting uncomfortably, as if they disliked the energy. Dr. Lian gasped. Commander, they're not invincible. Some frequencies, some intensities, they disrupt their form. Find the frequencies. Serena shouted. Her crew worked with frantic speed, adjusting weapon settings, testing energy patterns. One beam finally hit a phage creature and made it shudder violently before dissolving into dust. Cheers erupted on the bridge, but the victory was small, because for every creature they destroyed, 1,000 more appeared behind it. The swarm flowed around the fleet like a black ocean. Human ships dodged, fired, retreated, and struggled to maintain formation. Engines roared, shields flickered, pilots shouted warnings. The darkness felt alive from every direction. Inside the chaos, Serena's destroyer was surrounded by 3 large phage entities, massive shapes that resembled twisted wings or broken blades. They moved with impossible grace, circling the ship like predators. Brace for impact, Serena shouted. The first phage slammed into the shield. The ship rocked violently. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Officers fell from their seats. The second phage hit the side, cracking the armor. Warning, alarms screamed. The third moved toward the engine core, its jagged edges glowing faintly. Serena acted fast. Rotate the ship. Funnel all power to the forward cannons. The ship spun, engines burning bright. The forward cannons fired a blast of concentrated energy, one of the new frequencies. Dr. Lian's team had discovered. The giant phage creature shrieked without sound, its form breaking apart like shattered glass. It dissolved into drifting black dust, but the other 2 slammed into the destroyer. Again, Serena stumbled as the deck shook under her feet. Smoke filled the air. We can't take another hit like that. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, the phage attacked another sector of the human fleet. Ships exploded silently. Screens went dark. Thousands more souls were lost in seconds. But humanity fought back. Explorers and scout ships lured groups of phage into concentrated traps of blinding plasma light. Heavy cruisers fired massive beams of destabilizing radiation, carving short-lived holes into the swarm. Smaller ships rescued escape pods drifting through space. Everywhere, humans pushed back with desperate courage. General Dunce's voice rang out again, even louder now, trying to cut through the chaos. Do not break formation. Protect the science vessels. They are our only chance. But the phage didn't care about strategy. They moved like a force of nature, ignoring explosions, weaving through fire, breaking apart only to reform moments later. Their numbers seemed endless, stretching back into the darkness. Then something changed. The swarm slowed, not because they were tired. These creatures didn't get tired. They slowed because something else was approaching. A larger shadow, much larger. Serena's crew stared helplessly at the screens as a massive shape emerged from behind the broken planet. It dwarfed mountains. It dwarfed ships. It dwarfed everything. It looked like an ancient, floating fortress of darkness, with long tendrils stretching across the void. Its surface moved and twisted like it was alive. Dr. Lian whispered, voice trembling. That's a phage prime. Serena felt her heart drop. A leader. More like a parent, Dr. Lian said. A source. A generator of the swarm. The phage prime opened a glowing void-like mouth, and the darkness around it began pulling inward. Space itself twisted like fabric. Serena felt the air in her lungs freeze. It's creating a singularity, a pilot shouted. The human fleet was now fighting both the swarm and the gravitational pull of the prime. Engines struggled, ships tilted, some were dragged straight into the void, crushed instantly. Serena gritted her teeth. We need to take it out. General Dunce responded immediately, voice strained. All ships capable of long-range heavy fire, focus on the prime. The fleet turned its weapons toward the giant creature. Beams, missiles, plasma, radiation, everything fired at once. The phage prime absorbed most of it, but a small part reacted. A faint ripple across its surface. Dr. Lian shouted into the comms. Commander, there's a pattern. That ripple hit that frequency again. All ships, match it. Serena relayed the order. Synchronize all fire. The fleet adjusted and fired again. This time the ripple grew larger. The prime's tendrils recoiled slightly. Serena felt hope flicker for the first time since the fight began. We're hurting it. But the prime responded. Its tendrils whipped forward, sending waves of phage creatures surging toward the human ships. Entire sections of the fleet disappeared in silent eruptions of black and red. The gravitational pull increased, dragging ships sideways like leaves caught in a storm. Serena's destroyer alarmed violently. Engine overheating, shields at 12%, hull integrity failing. Her crew shouted over each other, trying to stabilize systems. Serena grabbed the rail, steadying herself. She refused to back down. Target its core, she yelled. This is our only chance. Her ship fired every remaining charge it had. Other ships joined in. A massive beam of synchronized human fire slammed into the Prime. A huge tear formed across its body. The creature writhed, its tendrils flailing. The gravitational pull decreased for a moment. The swarm around it rippled in confusion. Serena's crew erupted into cheers, but they stopped immediately when the Prime began reforming the tier. It's healing, someone whispered in terror. The moment of hope faded. But Serena didn't stop. She clenched her fists, her voice hard as steel. We are not leaving this galaxy to die. Not while we breathe. Keep firing. The battle raged on. Light and darkness clashed again and again across the stars. Human ships burned like small suns. The phage swarmed endlessly. The Prime hovered like a nightmare too big to defeat, and Serena knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had answered the galaxy's cry for help, but now, standing against the greatest hunger ever born in the void, humanity had to prove it deserved to survive. The battlefield had become a graveyard of fire and shadows. Broken ships floated silently, pieces drifting like burnt feathers. The phage swarmed through the wreckage, eating metal, wires, and even the frozen bodies of soldiers who had died only minutes before. It was the kind of sight that could crush hope inside any heart. But somehow, in the middle of all this darkness, humanity refused to fall. Serena stood on the bridge of her barely surviving destroyer. Most of the screens were cracked. Sparks dropped from damaged panels. Half the crew was injured, and the rest were exhausted. But they were still alive. And as long as they were alive, she believed they could push back. However, the truth was clear. The human fleet was losing. Not slowly, not gracefully. They were being swallowed. The phage Prime floated ahead like a black mountain, endless in size, endless in hunger. Its huge tendrils stretched across space, pulling ships into its glowing mouth. Every time the fleet managed to wound it, the creature healed again. Serena dragged her hand across her forehead, wiping blood from a small cut. How much power do we have left? Her engineer shook his head. Barely 10%. One more direct hit, and we won't be able to move. The entire bridge fell silent for a moment, not because they were giving up, but because they finally realized how close they were to death. The phage did not stop. It did not weaken. It kept crawling toward them like an endless nightmare. Then, something unexpected happened. A new signal appeared on the long-range scanners. Weak, distant, but real. Serena's eyes widened. Is that another fleet? Her sensor officer ran fast calculations. Not human, not phage. It's something else. Before anyone could guess further, the signal grew stronger and stronger until giant shapes appeared behind a distant moon. Ships, hundreds of them, flew forward in perfect formation. They were sleek, silver, and beautiful, almost like pieces of starlight shaped into machines. Dr. Lian gasped. The civilization that sent the distress call. They survived. The bridge filled with stunned whispers. They had thought the unknown aliens were wiped out, but they were here, alive, fighting. Their ships released a burst of bright light that cut straight through the phage swarm. The shadows recoiled sharply, twisting away from the brightness as if burned. Serena stared in disbelief. Their weapons. They're effective. General Dunser's voice returned on the comms filled with new life. All units regroup. Fight alongside our new allies. Human ships moved to join them, forming a mixed shield wall. The Silverilian ships seemed to sing as they fired energy pulses, each one glowing with brilliant blue-white light. Their beams sliced through the smaller phage creatures, turning them into dust instantly. For a moment it looked like hope had returned, but the phage Prime noticed the new threat. Its huge, glowing core brightened like a rising sun. The creature released a wave of darkness so powerful that it cut across space like a tsunami. The alien ships shuddered under the force. Some of them cracked in half. Some exploded instantly. Serena felt the deck shake violently. She grabbed a railing. They're targeting the allies. Dr. Lian was already running numbers. The phage Prime learns. It adapts. It knows they're the real danger. Serena made a decision. Then we protect them. She switched to the fleet-wide channel and shouted with every ounce of strength she had left. All ships, form a defensive barrier around the allied fleet. We hold the line. And humanity obeyed. They moved their broken, bruised, burning ships into position, creating a half-circled shield wall. They fired everything left. Missiles, energy beams, plasma bursts, anything that still worked. Many ships died instantly under the counterattack, but the line held long enough for the alien fleet to regain balance. Then one of the silver ships broke formation and moved toward Serena's destroyer. A communication window opened on her screen. For the first time in history, she saw the face of another intelligent species. The alien looked almost human, but its skin shimmered like crystal, eyes bright like distant stars, smooth, flowing hair that glowed softly. Its voice was a mix of tones, layered and beautiful. "We thank you," it said. "Your bravery saved a part of our people." Serena nodded. "We received your message. We came to help." The alien seemed surprised. "We did not know if anyone would hear us. We did not know if anyone would come." Serena smiled tiredly. "We don't leave people to die in the dark." The alien's face softened. "Then let us end the darkness together." Behind them, the phage prime roared with silent fury, releasing more tendrils. The swarm gathered around it like an angry hurricane. The alien continued. "We have studied the prime for generations. It cannot be killed with simple force. Its core is stable because it absorbs energy. The more power you use on it, the stronger it becomes." Serena felt her hope dip. "Then what do we do?" "There is one way." The alien paused. "You must collapse its core. But to do that, someone must deliver the destabilizer from inside the prime." Serena's entire bridge froze. Going inside the prime was suicide. It was like flying into the mouth of a star. No one would survive. Serena exhaled slowly. "I'll do it." Her crew turned to her with horror. Her pilot shook his head violently. "Commander, that's madness." Dr. Lian slapped her desk. "You won't make it out." Serena stood straighter. "If I don't go, the phage will continue. They'll reach Earth. They'll reach every world after. Someone has to stop them." Before anyone could protest again, a hand touched her shoulder. It was her second-in-command, Keller. Her voice was soft but firm. "You've led us this far. Let me finish the fight." Serena stared at her, eyes full. "Que ya no." Keller smiled sadly. "I'm a pilot, a damn good one, and you know it. I can fly into that thing better than anyone on this ship." Serena's throat tightened. She didn't want to lose another friend. She didn't want to send someone she loved like a sister into death. But she knew Keller was right. Serena nodded slowly. "If you're doing this, you're not doing it alone." The alien spoke again. "We will send our brightest pilots with you. Their ships can shield your path for a short time. Not long, but long enough." The plan began immediately. Keller boarded a small, fast strike ship, one of the last functioning crafts. 2 alien ships flanked her, glowing brightly. Serena watched from the bridge as the 3 ships sped toward the prime. The phage swarmed them instantly, but the alien ships blasted waves of bright energy that pushed the creatures away. Keller flew like she had been born for it, weaving through darkness and death. Serena's heart raced as she watched. Her nails dug into her palms. Every second felt like an hour. The ships approached the prime's surface. It opened its mouth. A swirling vortex of black energy sucked everything toward it. Keller struggled to stabilize her ship. The alien escorts were pulled in first, breaking apart as they went. Their final lights flickered out. "Keller!" Serena screamed. Keller's voice came through the calm, breathless but steady. "I'm still here. I'm going in." Her ship vanished into the darkness. Inside, the world looked unreal. Endless black corridors, twisting tunnels of broken light, echoes that weren't echoes. Keller felt like she was flying inside a dying universe. Her hands trembled, but she kept pushing forward. Finally, she reached the core, a glowing sphere of collapsing reality, pulsing like a giant heart made of nightmares. Keller's voice shook. "I see it. I'm releasing the destabilizer now," Serena whispered. "Come back, please." Keller smiled, though Serena could not see it. "Tell Earths we did our best. Tell them we didn't run." She pressed the activation switch. The destabilizer exploded in a silent flash. The prime shrieked, space itself trembling. Outside, the human and alien fleets watched as cracks spread across the massive creature. Its tendrils twisted violently. The swarm broke apart, scattering like dust in wind. Then the prime collapsed into a bright, exploding star of light. The entire battlefield glowed. When the light faded, the phage were gone. Silence returned. Not peaceful silence, heavy, sorrowful silence. Serena fell into a seat, tears sliding down her face as she whispered, "Keller." General Dunsard's voice came through, soft for the first time. "The galaxy is safe for now. Because of her." The alien ships lit up in a soft, respectful pattern like a silent salute. Serena looked at the broken battlefield, the drifting pieces of ships, the empty darkness where the phage had once been. Humanity had won, but victory had come with a price. In the days that followed, the surviving humans and aliens worked together to repair ships, rescue survivors, and send messages across the galaxy announcing that the phage prime was destroyed. Earth received their signal and cried with both pride and sorrow. Humanity had answered the call. Humanity had fought with courage, and humanity had paid in blood. Serena stood by a window on her repaired bridge, looking at the distant stars. She placed her hand gently against the glass. "Keller," she whispered, "you saved us all." The galaxy breathed again, free, safe, alive, because humanity had faced the darkness and refused to fall.